So there was this young Apache man, and he was running across the desert in the arid zone in Arizona. And the temperature hovered between maybe 90 and 100 degrees in the sun. And as he ran, he realized that he had about 40 miles to go before he reached camp. He was running a while and he felt something down by his moccasin that felt loose. So he stopped quickly and squatted down, took a real close look at his moccasin and realized that part of it had separated. The stitching had come loose. So he reached into his leather pouch and he took out the appropriate tools that he needed that he carried with him and stitched up the moccasin right then and there, tighter than it was before. He put his tools away and began running again. He knew where to run and how to run, and by how to run he knew how not to leave too much of a track. And as he was running further, he picked up a scent from the air. And he knew what this scent was, or he believed that he knew, so in order to verify it, he saw a small butte nearby and climbed up on the butte, which was higher than the desert floor. He had a looking glass, a small looking glass that he kept with him in his leather pouch. He took that out and scanned the horizon, and sure enough, coming his way were some bluecoats on horseback with a cloud of dust behind them. Well, he knew at this point that he would either have to run faster or acquire a horse somewhere. But he knew a little ranch nearby, a little Mexican hacienda that had a corral. And during this time of day, he also knew that there would be probably no one there, or very few there. So he made a beeline for that little ranch, and he crawled in very slowly, almost hidden amongst the bushes and sagebrush. He deftly captured a horse, unlatched the gate to the corral, and was on top of the horse and gone before anybody knew it. So eventually he arrived at camp after outrunning the bluecoats and keeping his tracks as small as possible by riding in the rocky areas, leaving the horse behind and then going in on foot. He reached camp and his sister was there, and she said, "Victorio, I knew you would be here. You know these feelings I get." And he said, "Thank you, sister. It is good to see you." Now there's a moral to this story. There's a lot of lessons in this story. Stories are good for lessons. They sometimes convey things to people that couldn't normally be understood by just talking, because talking is talking. So, and they hear talking every day, but they don't hear stories every day. So what can we learn from this story? Well, when the story first opened, the man was running and he felt something on his moccasin come loose. So he was aware, he was keenly aware, his senses were aware. So that tells you one thing. He didn't just keep on running and not feel it. And then he also had another thing that it tells you is he was prepared, because he carried in his pouch the things he needed. And another thing that the story tells you is that he had knowledge and had studied on how to mend a moccasin. Maybe he learned it from his wife. Usually the women did those kind of things for the man. And then his sense of smell told him, because he'd been trained, that he was picking up an odor that was vaguely familiar but foreign. And he probably knew, but it was just a confirmation when he climbed up on the butte, which he knew where the butte was and how high it was. And again he was prepared because he had his looking glass. And his confirmation was, yes, the odor that he smelled, or the scent that he picked up, were the blue coats, or what he would have called the white eyes, coming his way. Now the rest of the story is that he knew exactly where a little ranch was, because he had probably done a recon of that entire area. And so it was beneficial to him to know that, because he could go over there and get a horse and outrun the bluecoats. And then the next part of the journey is him arriving at camp and not leaving tracks, and seeing his loving sister and them being united. Now there was a Lozan, and she was a great warrior, and there was a Vittorio, and that was her brother. Now the moral of this story is that, and I think it really applies to some of the things that I do here when I speak, and some people go, oh well, you know, that's positive, or that's negative, or you should be more positive, or whatever, you know, whatever people might be thinking or commenting. And this is always a kind of situation where unless you know, or unless you have a certain kind of thought, you're automatically, your worldview is going to tell you, well, oh, I don't want to hear that, or I don't want to be informed, or I only want to hear positive things. I only want to hear fun things. I only want to hear things that are loving and kind and right. I don't want to hear about the world. I don't want to hear about. But this story is a perfect example of what knowledge can do for you. Because you have to wake up, or you have to be aware before you can make the necessary preparations, or the necessary movements, or the necessary thought to remedy the situation, whatever it is, or to add to the situation in a positive way, or to allow you an escape. So when you wake up, or when you're aware, just like the Apache runner was aware that there was a corral here, and there was something he felt with his moccasin, and he was aware that he had to fix the moccasin. He had to be aware, is the point I'm making. He had to know certain things. He had to have knowledge so that he could take certain actions. Now, that would be the same thing as, like, if somebody came up and told you there was a bridge out down the road and that you could get another way around this raging stream, you would take that advice. So stories are good because they can convey a certain message about what I call yin and yang and right and wrong. And is it right to do this, or is it right to tell this story? Is it right to be negative, or what people think are negative? Just remember, we live in the duality, and I want to keep going over this so people don't get judgmental, or even me getting judgmental on myself. Within this duality is the yin and the yang, and there's going to be dark and light, and what some people call wrong is right, and what some people call right is wrong. And that's Taoist thought. So here we got a combination of a Native American story, or a Native story, or an Apache story, and Taoist thought. Okay? Taoist thought being that there's yin and yang, okay? And you can call bad good and good bad, or you can call white black or black white, but there's still opposites, okay? I hope you people are getting this. There's opposites in what we call this reality, this duality, this manifestation of a world around us. So while we're in the duality, just like the Apache was in the duality of life, he operated within that realm, okay? And believe me, they could go way beyond that realm. The Apaches were known for that. But he could operate within that realm of duality by having knowledge, okay, of certain things. So you don't want to look at knowledge in any particular way as, you want to look at it as, okay, yin is over here and yang is here, and we have what some people call negative or bad news or good news, or feel good stuff and not so feel good stuff. It's yin and yang. And so in my videos and in my writing, I try to combine both. Like I might give you some world updates, and then I might give you some, so that would be yin, right? And then I might give you a little bit of yang to go in there, or a little bit of more positive things. Or I might do a whole video that's totally yin, or I might do a whole video that's totally yang. You have to understand that Taoist thought is way beyond right and wrong, yin and yang, okay? It realizes that, again, one man's morality is another man's immorality, one man's right is another man's wrong. And this is, definitely tends to be chaotic. It tends to be chaotic. But the basic point that I'm trying to make is that in Taoist thought, or as a Taoist spiritual warrior, it just is. Okay, whatever is at the moment is. If I'm talking about a certain thing, that just is. Okay. There's no judgment about it. It's just this is what he is doing right now, okay? Or this is what he is talking about right now. And so you get out of that whatever you is beneficial to you. Something to think about. Because a lot of people get judgmental and a lot of people start scratching their head and thinking, I just want to hear Thunder talk about love and light or love or compassion, because he talks about that too sometimes, and it's really makes me feel good. So if I wanted to, I could have a battle within myself, and sometimes, to be honest with you, I have thoughts about what I'm putting out, whether it's yin or yang. But really there's no battle, there should be no battle. Because it doesn't make any difference. If you're detached, and maybe that's a key point, if you're detached, you can look at it like a landscape, and I've gone over this before. It's like, Thunder sometimes gets a little furrow in his brow or his forehead, and sometimes he gets a little laugh or a little smile. It's yin and yang. It can happen all in the same video, all at once, all at the same time. So I hope that gives you a little bit more understanding about yin and yang and right and wrong, and how when you step outside the norm and realize that belief systems, just like I always talk about, have a lot to do with how you view what's right or wrong. I mean, if you were raised from the age of 5 years old to think that orange was red or that blue was brown, well, that's what you'd call it. You'd say, oh, that's brown, when it's somebody else go, man, that's blue, what are you talking about? That's a belief system. If you thought something was brown all your life and it was blue, well, you'd swear it was brown, wouldn't you? So what Taoist philosophy tries to do, and it matches very well with native, the native outlook, okay, in a lot of different ways, and that's a whole nother video. But if you look at it in a certain way, you realize that just whatever is, and there's nobody that's twisting anybody's arm about listening to this video or any other video or doing anything for that matter. People get so hung up in this thing of and that's what causes division in the world, is because people don't know how it operates. They don't know how it operates. And you can't possibly correct things. Like some people say, well, if we just think in the right way, things will change. Well, that may very well be true, like I've said before. But in order to think about something that needs to be changed, you have to know what needs to be changed. In other words, yes, we got to change this, but what needs to be changed? Well, in order to know what needs to be changed, you have to know what's going on. You have to wake up. You can't just be sleepwalking through life and think nothing needs to be changed. then again, the Taoist view is change is going to happen anyway, too. So, see, this is all like almost life is like a big contradiction in a way. But you can learn from words which are just crumbs from the feast of the mind. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's one of my favorite sayings, actually. Words are just crumbs from the feast of the mind. Think about that one. Because I could sit here all day and have a feast, and I have a feast going on in my mind about what I'm trying to tell you, but my words and Taoists kind of say the same thing. They say, it can't be explained. You know, it's because everything is changing so fast. That's another reason almost why there's no right and wrong, because what's right today is wrong tomorrow. Things change, laws change, people change, life change, new information as opposed to old information. So I just wanted to give a glimpse to you people out there about Taoist thought and how you can't get hung up in all these things about, you know, what Thunder's saying is either negative or positive or right or wrong, or you just take it and look at it for what it is. You know, there's no judgment at all. You know, and you could take that one step further even as I'm thinking about it, and some of the things that I look at in life to make people aware, well, you know, you have to take that same attitude about, well, it just is what it is. But at least you're aware of what it is. Get my drift there? So there's a million different, the Tao speaks of the 10,000 things, or the myriads of things. Okay, and how, you know, the father and mother of those myriads of things is the Tao, the way, which cannot be explained, the mystery. But sometimes, you know, people like myself get certain insights about different areas, and so we just share. We just share. It's not like I'm trying to convert you or make you believe anything or put you in any kind of frame of mind. And you always have choices and options, don't you? So anyway, I'm going to leave it there today because I don't want this video to get too long, but there is a link down below for the Campfire Council, campfire-council.com. And we are a charitable nonprofit organization in the process of growing. And we're looking for volunteers, grant writers, or people that are interested in or that know about those kind of things. So if you want to go visit that website, feel free to do so. It's right below. And you can sign up for the newsletter also on there, which will make you an affiliate member automatically. If you don't want to be a member, don't sign up. But if you do, email me and let me know what kind of skills you might have or connections you might have for all kinds of things that a charitable organization needs, like volunteers or land or resources or, you know, connections for grants, different ideas. Okay, so, and that's a vision of mine that's just constantly growing, constantly refining. I'm reading so much right now to help this vision along about how all that stuff works in the world of in the illusion and the duality You're never too old to learn, trust me. There's a donation button there if you want to donate. We appreciate any donations that we get, monetary or otherwise. So I'll say peace to you, and I hope that your week and your life and everything is a good one. And blessings to you. Over and out.